Hey everybody. I normally don't start doing early broadcasts unless it's really important. And this is. So give a couple minutes here before I get started. Uh, I see I've only got 4 people watching. And very important information. As you can see there on the monitor behind me, that is Invest 98L. And they have now, as of the 2 o'clock Eastern Time, up this thing to 90% over the next 5 days. This thing is really forming quick. Yeah, let's see, I got a few more. Yesterday morning, the National Hurricane Center only give this thing a 20% over the 5 day period. And now it's at 90. Just from 8 o'clock yesterday morning, which was 0 on the 2 day, 20 on the 5 day, and 8 o'clock this morning, it had a 40 on the 2 day and 70 on the 5 day. Well, now they've upped it up, and now we got a 90%. And so I really think that by the 8 o'clock update tonight, this thing might have a name on it. And we'll get into that. I actually got a list to show you. I can go ahead and show you that. What scenes here? This is the Atlantic storm name list. So 95L ended up being Andrea. 96L ended up being my namesake, Barry. And 97L was Chantel. So if 98L forms, which I believe it is, it will be Dorian. That's the next name on the list. And I'll leave that there for a couple minutes in case you want to do a screenshot. So let's get on to GR Earth. And as you can see here, it's actually starting to get some good rotation in it. Can you find where the center is? This thing's still dealing with a little bit of winch here. It's more on the moderate side. But the low, just by looking at satellite view, is right about there. So the center of circulation is real close to Miami. And I'll go ahead and go to the National Hurricane Center. This is 98L, which they have now updated that to 70% for the next 2 days. Okay, Cody. And I'll go ahead and show you the 5 day. Why did that not switch? There we go. There's your 5 day cone. And I'll zoom in, make it easier for you to see. Now, if it forms, the models are more or less got it going down the center of that cone, but it could go, right up against the coast. It's still a little early to tell. It looks, according to the models, which I'll show you here in a bit, that it's going to stay out to sea. And the orange down there in the corner, that's 99L, which 99L has a 50% chance of formation in the next 5 days. And it's mainly moving west. And as you can see, it's headed right for the Lesser Antilles. And you can see Chantel up there just kind of meandering around. There's your 5-day cone for 98L there in red. And I'll show you the model. See if I can get this on the screen for you to see. I'll go ahead and move this in. Now, this is the European. And for tropical storms, I really depend on the European. Right there, you can see this low starting to form. Now, this is on Sunday, about 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And it has it going up. Now, notice the green. That's the spin. And look at there. That thing really gets strong. But, it's well off the coast. But the whole coast is definitely going to be affected by rain and waves. As that wraps around, it's going to cause rip current warnings all up and down the coast, as well as some possible storm surge. Just all depends on how far off the coast that it tracks. Now, another one I'd like to show you, I'm going to show you the Icon model. And it's pretty bullish too. You can see it down there in the bottom right corner. Now, there's 12Z on Sunday. It's starting to strengthen right there. Now, this has also got the precipitation with it. So the green and the yellow's on here. Now, the models, they don't predict precipitation all that well. But that's what this model's showing, as well as the spin. And you can see how basically it's taken the same track as the Euro. And this Icon model, shows it getting pretty strong as well. But notice that in the last couple of frames, it kind of wants to turn north. If it does, Long Island and that area up there will really start getting affected. Nova Scotia, they got a pretty good chance. Jen, if you want to go chase a hurricane, you might have to go to Nova Scotia. There you can see how it's headed into Nova Scotia. Cody, right now, we're talking tropical weather, okay? That's our focus. Now, this Icon model, it's got the low, it's probably hard for you to read, 978 millibars. And like I was saying last night, those circles around it, the closer those lines are, the stronger the wind field. So right there, that's showing that it's going to have some pretty strong winds. it'll definitely be a tropical storm status, or even a hurricane at that point. Now, I did look for aircraft recon, and there's nothing scheduled for this thing just yet. Now I'll show you the spaghetti models. This is all the different models. Now some of the models, if you notice, has it going over here, but there's only one model, maybe two, with their ensembles that has it doing that. So there's not a lot of confidence in that. Most of the, as you can see here, I'll put it in red. Most of the spaghetti, whoops, most of the spaghetti has it going this. And so I really think that's what it's going to do. That gives you a look at the spaghetti models. I'll show you just for fun. Now this is the GEFS ensembles, and that's pretty much saying pretty close to what the Euro is actually putting out. So let's go back to the satellite. Now, if you look real close here, I'll zoom in on this. Let it load up the satellite frames. Watch this top right here where my pointer is. Look how that starts really blowing up. Those are overshooting tops. So it's definitely getting stronger. It's still east loaded. You know, all the storms are on the east and northeast side of it. I'm using GR Earth, Cody. I use all the GR products. But you could really see, even, you know, like over Florida, how the clouds are, you know, swinging down and wrapping into it. So it's definitely getting stronger. Now let's go take a look at 99L. Now, if you remember last night, I mentioned this tropical wave, and it still is a tropical wave. Okay, just about got everything loaded. Notice this has got some pretty decent spin. And the low, the center of it, going to be about right in there. Watch that area right there. So for a tropical wave, this thing is really gotten intense from what it was last night when I did my last update. And it didn't have this spin in it last night. It was just an elongated trough. I'll pause this here. Yeah, the center of it's going to be about right in there. And I mentioned this one last night as one that I've been watching ever since it came off of Africa. And this one's mainly moving due west. Now there is a problem, and let me stop the motion here. Look at water vapor. Look at this brown up here. Dry air. Hey, South Paul. And the dry air out ahead of it. But if it can hold together, this thing could be a monster. There's not a whole lot of wind shear, and you could tell that just by looking at the satellite. If there was a lot of wind shear, it would be blowing the tops off, and it'd be blowing the tops off in one direction. But you can see the storms are building up on the east side of it. So there's not a lot of wind shear there. It's just that nasty, dusty Saharan dry air. And it's going to flicker till it loads up all the frames, but I'll go ahead and put this in motion. So South Paul and anybody else just join me. Invest 98L is now at a 90% on a 5-day, 70% in the next 48 hours. They have really upped it. Now this dry air is on the move that's out ahead of it. This is 99L. Red. So now 98L has got rotation, and 99L already has rotation, and it's still a ways out. The last update I have over here on 99L, it's moving west at 16 miles per hour. Pressure at 1,012. And satellites estimating 30 mile per hour winds. But you can see the rotation in it. If it keeps moving west before it turns up towards Florida or the Gulf, it's got a pretty good chance of making it. I thought this one earlier today was pretty much following the same track as 98L did, but this one's headed more west than what 98L did. Again, this is 98L. The center of it's just about pretty much right over Miami, or maybe just a little west. Again, no recons are scheduled just yet. Once it gets its name, they'll start doing recons. And for this thing to go from a 20% on the 5-day yesterday morning to a 90%, I just about bet that it's going to get a tropical depression call out on it at 8 o'clock, which, if that happens, it'll get its name. Most of the models, South Paul, has actually got it going right around the center and then turn to northeast. There's only, I think, two models that's got it coming a little bit out here and then up. But there's not a whole lot of confidence. Those particular models. Hey, thanks for the host, Molly. Uh, those particular models are not dependable. So, as you can see, these red dots here, it's got it coming up and then out. Not a tropical depression yet. 90% chance in the next 5 days, 70% in the next 2 days. But as fast as they've been upgrading the chance on this, I really think by tonight, it's a good possibility it could get a name. For storm chasers, it's not going to be very exciting because it looks like it's going to stay out to sea. And you can see the red and the blue dots as it goes up through here. It's got the letter T in it. That's for tropical storm. So after it comes off the east coast of Florida, two of these models here are expecting it to go tropical storm status. The D means depression. Now this tropical wave that came up, kind of came up through here. This was the first tropical wave that I started watching this week. And Deadpool. What killed it from forming anything is a high pressure, which is about right in there. So that high pressure is kind of keeping it. But look how that storm's building up. Let me go to visible. Let it load up. And you can see how these storms are really blowing up. And naturally with that high, it's steering all of this. Galveston, Houston, all across New Orleans, Pensacola, Florida. So it'll get the coast of Mississippi and Alabama. And you can already see one green warning popping up here. I'll stop the motion here. That's a flash flood warning. Let's see. Looks to be down there around Galveston. And that's from all this moisture feeding into it. So pretty much from about here all the way around, it's got a chance for flash flooding. A failing storm, an accurate description of a tropical depression. No. Because even a tropical depression can get as much as 73 mile per hour winds. 74 is a Cat 1. So it's like a hurricane little brother. Again, the water vapor mode. Tons of moisture all in the Gulf, all over here on the east side. Well, tropical storm. Uh, Let me get up the categories here. If I can find out what I did with it. There's your categories. Well, it does not show tropical depression. Thought it did. Yeah, I think it's 30 some mile per hour up to 73 is a tropical depression or a tropical storm. And then your Cat 1 takes over at 74. So, like I say, a tropical storm, a tropical depression, it's just a little baby brother to a hurricane. Yeah, an unending mess of fun. Not a whole lot of wind, but usually a whole lot of rain. Again, I'll go ahead and show you the hurricane names. If it does get a name tonight, it'll be Dorian. A depression is an area of low pressure that has circulation in it. But the winds has got to be so strong. They start as depression, a tropical storm, and then hurricane. Now I'll go back to GR Earth. Okay, this is considered a tropical wave at this point. It's not that far off the coast of Africa. And think of a wave this way. Typically, not so much with this one, but typically you'll have fair weather out ahead of the wave, and the storms are on the backside or the east side. So most likely the wave is there. And what a tropical wave is, oops, I forgot to turn that high pressure off. Sorry about that. I have been up all night watching weather. I have not been to bed yet. But anyway, let's go back to this. So you got your tropical wave. And a tropical wave is an elongated low pressure system. As you can see, this one is. You can see how it's elongated. Now, it does have storms firing out in front of it. But go back and put the wave marker on it. And think of it this way. As the winds are coming towards that line, it'll bend and do like a wave. It'll do a wave over the trough. The yellow line, that's your trough. Now, since this one, ooh, they already got some tracks on it now. Um, since this one has rotation in it already, it's going from an elongated low pressure system to a circular or spinning. And like I showed you a little bit ago, this does have some spin in it. And you can kind of see that if you just look at the clouds. You can see how, I'll do this in yellow. You can see how this is wrapping in. This down here is wrapping in. So your low pressure center is going to be somewhere in there. Got these wrapping around. So just by looking at the satellite view, even in infrared, you can tell that this has got spin without even not putting it in motion. Now this blue model, that's the HWFI. I don't have a lot of confidence in that particular model. But as you can see here on the GFSI, the greens and even the reds, it's got that letter T in it. So it will be a tropical storm. So it's going to jump from a depression to a tropical storm pretty quick unless it runs into that dry air. Remember that dry air is up in here and out ahead of it. See that with water vapor. Now that dry air earlier, the brown, was actually coming all in this area. Now the moisture is starting to fill in, so it's got a better chance of forming. But this brown or dry air out ahead of it may hold it back. We'll have to wait and see. This dry air is on the move, going west as well. Hopefully it gets out of its way. Now for storm chasers, I don't know, this one's too far out. 98L, as of right now, all the model runs are showing it going off the coast. So the only landfall is what it's doing right now. The low pressure center is actually going to go over Florida, and it won't get a chance to form because it doesn't have the fuel. It needs that fuel of the warm waters for it to strengthen. So as long as that area of circulation is over land, it's not going to form. That's what Hurricane Barry did. It didn't start strengthening until it got down in the Gulf. So that's the reason why it's only going to stay a depression over land. And then even one model run has already got it showing as a Cat 1 when it gets way up to the northeast. Now, as of the model run right now, it'll be sometime Sunday when it goes back out over the water and starts to strengthen. So got a couple days. Again, I'll show you for the newcomers. Here's the forecast cone with a 90% chance of forming. And it could go anywhere in that cone. So there you go. That's the latest update. I won't have another update till 8 o'clock tonight. They do their updates at 2 in the morning. Now this is Eastern Daylight Time. 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, or no, excuse me. It's 2, 8, 2 in the afternoon, and 8 o'clock at night. Now, if this thing starts getting stronger, um, they'll start putting out more updates during the day. Hey, Big D. What we're talking about is the red cone that has a 90% chance of forming in the next 5 days, 70% in the next two. For Big D and anybody else that's just joining. Now we do have 99L, which really surprised me earlier. Thanks, Molly. I really need that. Really helps. Um, this down here, it really surprised me this morning because it didn't have any circulation. It was just a regular tropical wave yesterday. And it really surprised me this morning when they give it an invest. So that is Invest 99L. Now, if we happen to get another one, they're going to go back to 95. Those numbers only go, and don't ask me why, they only go from 95 to 99, and it starts over again. But that's what we have. Yeah, let's take a gander at the winch here. Oops, clicked on the wrong one. Um, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm waiting on a few things to happen. I might be moving back to Northwest Ohio. Yeah, Southpaw, I don't know what they would do if they had more than 5 invests at one time. Now I'm going to stop this. Stop. Zoom in on it. This is Florida. So as you can see, there's no winch here. There's a little bit out to the east of it, but there's nothing stopping this thing. I'll go back and show you the models again. I'm not going to really look at the GFS right now. Oh, you grew up in Northwest Ohio? Almost half of my life, and all my kids grew up in Paulding, Ohio, just north of Van Wert, about 17 miles, I think it is. So we'll go global, Euro, look at the lower dynamics. We'll look at the lines of equal pressure and the 850 millibar winds. Yeah, I've been to Toledo a time or two. Now this is model for the Euro at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and you can see it's already off the coast at that point. That's when they believe it's going to start forming. And as I go through, you can see she really ramps up. See. Now this is going to be a little hard to see because of the colors. But here you can see it on the right side of the screen there. Right side of that window, but let me back it up here. This again is the Euro, but this is the 500 millibar geopotential height, as well as lines of equal pressure, or your MSLP. And right there she goes. See her scooting up and getting stronger. Now remember what I've told y'all. The closer those lines are together around the center, the stronger the wind field. Arizona, I tell you the truth. Let's go ahead and talk East Pacific. Ivo, it's going to drop down. It doesn't look like it's going to make hurricane status, and the reason why, it's the direction it's moving. It's moving into cooler waters, and so I really don't think that it's going to affect Arizona that much. It's most likely going to bring some moisture up that way, because I know it's pretty dry. You guys didn't have a whole lot of monsoon this year, but it's going to really drop down to a post-tropical depression. Yeah, that's something else I was going to talk about too. For a lot of you people here in the eastern half of the country, there is a cold front that's pushing south. And that cold front, switch colors here, is about right in there right now. So, got this Canadian cold air and drier air pushing down from the north. Now, this cold front is going to stall out. Now, another thing that's going to happen is the jet stream. And go ahead and do that in yellow. Jet stream's going to come around like this. Okay, that's really going to affect 98L. You got a high pressure out in here, so that's steering it, and this front is going to stall out, and that jet stream is going to swing around it, and that's going to steer it from the west side of it. So it all depends on how it interacts between the jet stream, the stalled front, and that high pressure system off to the east. It's going to kind of, depend on what happens there, whether it makes a track closer to land or not. Yeah, Jen, I had to put a jacket on this morning when I went for coffee. So, anybody got any questions? We could take a look at see what Miami looks like on radar. Yeah, it was in the 60s when I went for coffee, and it's supposed to get down in the 50s tonight. Hey, Salt Room. Go down here to Miami. Yeah, way up there in the upper right. Yeah, that's tropical depression, Chantel. What's left of it? It's just up there, just kind of meandering around. Really not seeing much off of Miami. It's a little bit too far off the coast. There's no radar in the Bahamas. So I know earlier Nassau, which is right there, uh, was getting some storms from 98L. A little too far away for Miami radar to pick up. Main thing this thing's going to do is create a lot of flooding potential. Yeah, thank goodness that humidity dropped. I haven't hardly been able to sit outside, especially in the mornings, because of the humidities. Horrible. There was one morning where the dew point and the temperature was the same. It was muggy outside. And that was at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's usually when I go for coffee, between 5 and 6. Yeah, it was. Yeah, those mornings where our temperature and the dew point was the same, that's 100% humidity. Yeah, as the sun got closer to coming up, it got real foggy. I wanted to get a picture one morning, had a full moon in the west, and I don't know yet, Jen. I don't know if it's going to be worth hitting the road, but had a full moon in the west, and underneath it, skirting across the ground, was some ground fog, and you could actually watch it rolling in. It was spooky. It looked like a Halloween scene, but I didn't have my camera with me. Let's see what this looks like tonight, Jen. We get some more model runs and get that 8 o'clock update, see what this thing's going to do. As of right now, the Euro is the one I trust the most. And Nova Scotia might get hit. Other than that, it's going to stay offshore. They're already, I believe, got moderate riptide risk along the east side of Florida, down around Miami to Fort Lauderdale, and that's only going to get it worse. And they'll end up with riptide warnings all up the coast. And tonight, if I think of it, I'll look up and see when high tide's going to be with the timing of this thing. Because we get a high tide along that coast, and that thing really strengthens, and start getting them winds pushing against the coast there on the north side. Could definitely have some flooding. just from storm surge. Yeah, I like seeing ground fog. It's really cool. By the way, for those on Twitch, you're not seeing Big D. He's over on my YouTube. Got this really cool app that I can watch both. That's it right there. The little red squares there on the left tells me they're on YouTube. I do dual stream uh, on Twitch and YouTube. But yeah, we could take a look at this. This is Ivo. Not a very well formed storm. Does look like it's fighting some wind shear. It's really elongated to the southwest. You can see the tracks of the different model runs. But it's going to really weaken down. But since the strongest part of a tropical storm is on the northeast quadrant, as this thing's going north, it could push up some moisture there in Arizona. Like I said, you guys really didn't have a real strong monsoon season. So I know it's pretty dry out there. There I've got the radar overlaid on the satellite view so you can see where the storms are, where the rain is. But it is getting a lot of overshooting tops on it. I won't know till later tonight, Southpaw. I'll coordinate it with the 8 o'clock update and tonight's model runs. Try to get a timing, and then I got a website that I can look up for high tide. That's Now Coast. Now Coast website is what I use for looking at high tide. But it's too early to worry about it right now. Really nice website. Tide predictions. But I'll have to wait till a little bit later because I need to find out, when it's going to be up in that area to worry about. As long as it misses Tampa, that's going to depend. Some of the models do have it coming you know, further inland in Florida, and so they'll get the wraparound storms, which they're already getting some close to Tampa. That's Tampa right there. So the southern half of Florida is definitely, I think, already uh, they have concerns of flooding. Anybody else got a question? Oh, really? Hey, Doc. Oh, yeah. We got another one down here. 99L. Already got an invest number on it. And that one is 50% over 5 day. I'll have to keep an eye on that one to see how it tracks. There's a lot of dry air out ahead of it, and to the north of it is some. Um, that might keep it from forming. There's not a lot of shear there. But we'll have to keep an eye on that one. I was, you know, like I said earlier, I was really shocked because yesterday this 99L was just a tropical wave with no spin. Now it's got circulation in it. I think I got enough visible satellite here. Put it in motion so you can see it. Model tracks. Let it load up all the frames here. There you can see the spin in it. You guys want to see something cool? This thing's already pushing out outflow boundaries. Look down here. Whoops. Watch these thin lines. See them blowing away from it? Those are outflow boundaries. So it's already pushing out some cold air. And you can see the clouds are going in two different directions. So it does have some shear to it. It looks like low level, but it ain't slowing this thing down. Got some real good spin, overshooting tops. There, that latest frame there, it's losing satellite. But look at these overshooting tops. Those clouds are getting way up there. That's some strong thunderstorms forming. So this thing is really getting stronger. There's another overshooting top there, there, up here. It's cool to watch them just blow up. Definitely one to watch. And I will be. I'm also watching. I'll have to go to infrared here. We got another wave back here. Got this wave here. Got this wave here. Typically, those waves this time of year come off of Africa about every 3 to 5 days. So eventually, one of the is going to hit us, I think. Definitely one's going to form. Whether 98 or 99 does, one of these is going to form. And like it says there on the ticker at the bottom, El Nino is done. El Nino was really hurting us for tropical storms in the Atlantic because of wind shear. These warmer waters in the Pacific was causing a lot of wind shear going to the east. And that was blowing the tops off the early waves. So potentially 99L, 95L, and 96 at the same time. Well, we ain't done with 98 yet. So, yeah. Yeah, but those three right there, we could potentially have 3 different invests named in the next couple of weeks. So there you go, folks. Like I said, I've been up all night, and I really need to try to get some sleep. It's 3:32 here in Ohio. Going to get me a few hours sleep, and I will be back after the 8 o'clock update this evening. So thanks everybody for joining me. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you later tonight.